Parents gave away sister the house I bought for them. I stopped the mortgage and the house got sold. I, 34M, need to get this off my chest because I'm still processing what happened. Some background: I've always been the responsible child in my family. Started working at 16, put myself through college, and built a successful career in software engineering. My sister, 39F, took a different path. She's bounced between jobs, had some struggles with relationships, and often relied on our parents for support. I never judged her for it. Life hits everyone differently. Growing up, the dynamic between my sister and me was complicated. She resented being compared to her perfect little brother, her words, while I felt pressured to maintain that image of perfection. Our parents, though well-meaning, probably didn't handle it well. They'd praise my achievements while trying to motivate her by pointing out how I did things. I realize now this created a wedge between us that never really healed. My sister had her first kid at 20, dropped out of community college, and moved back home. Our parents helped raise my nephew while she worked various retail jobs. Then came 2 more kids with 2 different fathers. Through it all, our parents were her safety net. I supported this. Family helps family, right? I even paid for my oldest nephew's braces when he was 12, $6,000 that my sister promised to pay back but never did. 5 years ago, our parents, both in their 70s, were struggling with their mortgage payments on their modest home where they'd lived for 30 days. Dad had a series of medical issues, first a heart attack, then complications from diabetes, that drained their savings. Mom had to quit her part-time job at the library to care for him. They were 3 months behind on payments and at risk of foreclosure. The house itself isn't anything fancy, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch-style home built in the 1970s. But it's where we grew up. Every doorframe has our height measurements marked on it. The big oak tree in the backyard still has remnants of the treehouse Dad built us. Mom's garden, where she grows her prize-winning tomatoes, has been featured in local newspapers. The thought of them losing it was unbearable. I was in a good place financially. My tech startup had just been acquired, and while I wasn't wealthy enough to retire, I had enough to help. I bought their house from them for $285,000, took over the mortgage, and let them live there rent-free. The agreement, verbal, stupidly, was simple: they could live there as long as they wanted, I'd handle all maintenance and taxes, and eventually, the house would be sold or passed down. My sister was fine with this arrangement at the time, even saying she was grateful I could help. Everything was fine for 4 years. I visited regularly, paid for repairs, new water heater, $1,200, HVAC system, $8,000, roof replacement, $15,000, and even hired a weekly cleaning service for Mom when her arthritis got worse. I felt good knowing they were secure and comfortable. Dad's health stabilized, Mom started enjoying her retirement, and my sister seemed to have found some stability working as an office manager. Then last month, I got a call from my sister's husband, her 3rd marriage, going on 2 years. He'd had a few drinks at a family barbecue I couldn't attend due to work and started bragging about how they were planning to move into their new house soon. He went on about their renovation plans, turning the garage into an in-law suite for our parents, converting my old bedroom into a gaming room for their kids, maybe even adding a pool eventually. I was confused until he spilled the beans. My parents had signed over the deed to my sister 6 months ago. They never told me. I was stunned. Initially, I thought he was drunk and confused, but something in his tone made my stomach drop. I immediately called my parents, but they dodged my calls for days. Mom would text saying they were busy or not feeling well. Finally, she sent a longer text saying they had their reasons and that my sister needed the security more since she has kids. I'm child-free by choice, after a lot of thought and discussion with my wife. They assumed I wouldn't mind since I'm doing well financially. Here's where it gets messier. Through my cousin, who works at the same office as my sister, I discovered my sister had been pressuring them for months. She'd go over almost daily, crying about how her kids needed a stable home, how their current rental wasn't safe, it was in a perfectly fine neighborhood, and how I owed her because I'd been more successful in life. She convinced them that since I paid for the house anyway, I wouldn't care if they transferred ownership to her. She planned to move in with her family and have our parents live in the converted garage, which isn't even properly insulated and would be illegal to use as a living space. But wait, there's more. She had already listed her rental and given notice to her landlord. She'd enrolled her kids in the school district near our parents' house. She'd even started ordering furniture for her new home on credit, assuming she'd be moving in soon. I was furious. Not just about the house, but the secretive way they handled it. They didn't even have the decency to discuss it with me. So, I made a decision that's divided my extended family. I stopped paying the mortgage. The first month, I got frantic calls from my parents asking why the mortgage company was calling them. I didn't answer. The second month, my sister started leaving angry voicemails about how I was threatening her children's future. By the third month, the house went into foreclosure. My sister couldn't afford to take over the payments, surprise, surprise, and our parents couldn't either. They all had to move out last week. My parents are staying with my aunt, and my sister's family is crammed into a 2-bedroom apartment. Now my entire family is calling me heartless. They say I destroyed our parents' retirement security out of spite. My sister's been posting daily Facebook rants about how I made her children homeless and how I always needed to be the controlling one. She's turned it into a whole social media campaign, sharing childhood photos with captions about how I've changed and become poisoned by money. Even some of my cousins are saying I went too far. My uncle, Dad's brother, called to berate me, saying blood is thicker than water and how I'll regret this when our parents are gone. Some family friends we've known for decades have stopped speaking to me. One of Mom's church friends even called my workplace trying to complain about my elder abuse. Thankfully, my boss knew the situation and blocked her number. But here's my perspective. I spent years supporting our parents, invested nearly $400,000 in total, mortgage payments, repairs, taxes, medical bills I helped with, and they went behind my back to give it all to my sister. They assumed I'd just keep paying while being completely cut out of any say in the property's future. They didn't even have the courtesy to discuss it with me first. The betrayal isn't even about the money, it's about the complete disregard for everything I've done. They took my generosity for granted and assumed they could manipulate it however they wanted. Finding out through my sister's drunk husband made it even worse. They didn't even have the courage to tell me themselves. My wife supports my decision, saying they took advantage of my generosity and faced the natural consequences. But some friends think I should have found a different way to handle it, maybe through legal channels, though my lawyer said my case wasn't strong since I wasn't on the deed. Apparently verbal agreements about property don't mean much in court. The hardest part is seeing my parents in their current situation. Despite everything, they're still my parents, and I never wanted them to struggle in their golden years. Every time I drive past their church and see Mom's old parking spot empty, my heart hurts a little. When I hear about Dad having to use a walker to navigate my aunt's 2-story house because his bedroom is upstairs, I feel guilty. But I also feel like continuing to pay would have been accepting a massive betrayal. TLDR, bought my parents' house and let them live there free while paying the mortgage. They secretly signed it over to my sister, so I stopped paying. House got foreclosed, and now everyone's mad at me. Edit 2, several people have asked about legal action. Yes, I consulted 2 different lawyers. Since I wasn't on the deed and had no written agreement about the arrangement, I trusted my parents. My options were limited. Expensive lesson in getting everything in writing, even with family. Edit 3, to those asking why I didn't just buy the house outright instead of taking over payments, I offered to, but my parents insisted on keeping the existing mortgage because the interest rate was better than what was available at the time. Another mistake trusting that arrangement. Edit 4, thanks for all the private messages of support, especially from those who've been through similar situations. I can't respond to everyone, but I'm reading them all. Update, 2 weeks later. Wow, I didn't expect my post to get so much attention. A lot has happened since I last posted, so I thought I should update everyone. First, thank you all for the supportive messages and awards. Reading your comments helped me feel less crazy about this whole situation. Many of you shared similar stories about family financial betrayals, and it really helped put things in perspective. Several developments. 1. My sister finally admitted, in a family group chat, that she'd been planning this for over a year. She apparently convinced our parents that since I'm rich, I'm not, I just live within my means, this was a way to even things out between siblings. She even had the nerve to say I should be happy to help provide for her kids, saying you chose not to have children, so helping with your nieces and nephews should be your priority. 2. My parents finally reached out directly. Dad sent a long email essentially admitting they knew what they did was wrong but felt pressured by my sister's constant guilt trips about her kids needing stability. Mom called crying, saying they never meant to hurt me and were just trying to help both their children. They've realized they messed up badly, but the damage is done. 3. The most surprising development, my aunt, Mom's sister, who they're staying with actually took my side after getting the full story. She told them they were damn fools for risking their stable living situation and called their behavior shamefully ungrateful. Coming from her, this hit them hard. She's always been the family mediator, so her taking a strong stance shocked everyone. 4. My sister's husband contacted me privately to apologize for his drunken revelation. Turns out he never agreed with the scheme but felt pressured to go along. Their marriage is apparently strained now because of all this. He's angry that she made financial plans assuming they'd get the house, and now they're struggling to afford their apartment. 5. Several relatives who initially condemned me have quietly reached out to apologize after hearing the full story. My cousin Sarah admitted she'd only posted those angry Facebook comments because my sister was pressuring everyone in the family to take a stand. Several people asked about my relationship with my parents going forward. Honestly, I'm not sure. The trust is broken, but they're still my parents. I've told them I need time and space to process everything. They're welcome to call me in emergencies, but our relationship needs serious repair work. As for my sister, we're done. Her social media campaign against me was the final straw. She's been telling people I financially abused our parents by controlling their living situation, completely ignoring the years I supported them. Some relatives have seen through her BS, others haven't. The last straw was when she started messaging my wife's family with her version of events, trying to turn them against me too. Some practical updates. I've started therapy to deal with all this. Many of you suggested this. Thank you. I've documented everything for potential future legal issues. I've set up a small emergency fund for our parents with my aunt as custodian, because despite everything, I don't want them truly destitute. I'm looking into setting up a trust for any future family financial arrangements. Lesson learned. I've blocked my sister on all social media and got a cease and desist letter sent regarding her public accusations. The hardest part has been dealing with the flying monkeys, distant relatives and family friends who've been calling to tell me how I've destroyed the family. I've started responding by calmly laying out the facts and asking how they would feel if their kids did this to them. Most shut up pretty quickly. My wife has been my rock through all this. She pointed out that this situation, while painful, revealed who in my family truly respects me versus who sees me as a walking ATM. She's also been handling the practical side of things, like redirecting my parents' mail that still comes to our house and dealing with the endless phone calls from relatives. Final thoughts. This experience has taught me that sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are with family, but they're often the most necessary. I'm working on forgiving, mostly for my own peace, but I'll never forget. Trust, once broken, is like a shattered mirror. You can glue it back together, but you'll always see the cracks. Thank you all again for the support and advice. It really helped knowing I wasn't alone in dealing with family financial drama. Final edit. To the person who suggested I write a book about family financial boundaries, I'm actually considering it. This whole experience has shown me how many people deal with similar situations. Update 2, 3 months later. I wasn't planning on posting another update, but so much has happened that I felt I should share. This might help others dealing with similar family dramas. The biggest news: my sister's house of cards has completely collapsed. Remember how she'd been telling everyone she was the victim in all this? Well, karma finally caught up with her. Here's what went down. 1. Her office did an audit and discovered she'd been using company resources to run her social media campaign against me. She'd been printing flyers about her evil brother on company time and using company computers to manage multiple fake accounts to harass me. She was fired last month. 2. Her husband finally had enough. After discovering she'd maxed out 3 credit cards buying furniture for the house she never got, he filed for separation. He's now staying with his brother and telling anyone who'll listen about how my sister manipulated everyone. 3. The real kicker? She'd been telling everyone she needed the house because they were struggling financially, but my cousin, the one who works with her, found out she'd actually received a substantial inheritance from her second husband's family last year, money she never told anyone about, including her current husband. She'd blown through most of it on online shopping and gambling. As for my parents, things are complicated. They're still staying with my aunt, but some healing has started. 1. Dad had a health scare last month. He's okay now, and I was the first person they called. Being back in a hospital waiting room with them, just sitting in silence, somehow helped more than any words could. 2. Mom has started sending me letters, actual handwritten letters, talking about her regrets and memories. She's not making excuses anymore, just acknowledging how badly they hurt me. In the last one, she included some old photos she found of me teaching Dad how to use his first smartphone. It broke my heart a little. 3. They've both agreed to family counseling. We had our first session last week. It was tough, but necessary. The therapist is helping us understand how we got here and what healthy boundaries look like. The extended family has largely come around. 1. Several cousins have apologized for believing my sister's stories without questioning them. 2 of them shared similar experiences with her manipulating them for money over the years. 2. My uncle, the blood is thicker than water guy, Actually showed up at my house to apologize in person. Turns out my sister had told him I was refusing to help with Dad's medical bills, a complete lie, as I'd been paying them all along. 3. Most of the flying monkeys have gone quiet, especially after my sister's true financial situation came to light. The most unexpected development? My oldest nephew, 19 now, reached out to me privately. He apologized for some angry texts he'd sent and shared how embarrassed he is by his mother's behavior. We had lunch last week, and he asked for advice about college. It was nice to remember that family relationships can heal, even if they look different afterward. Some other updates. 1. The book project is actually happening. I've connected with a ghostwriter, and we're working on turning this experience into a guide about setting financial boundaries with family. The working title is Family Ties, Financial Lies, a guide to protecting your assets and relationships. 2. My wife and I have used this as a wake-up call to get our own estate planning in order. We've set up clear trusts and guidelines for our assets, so no one can ever pull something like this again. 3. I've started volunteering with a financial literacy program at our local community center. Helping others understand basic financial planning and family boundaries has been surprisingly healing. 4. My parents have found a small apartment near my aunt. I helped them with the security deposit, not because I had to, but because I chose to. We're taking baby steps toward rebuilding trust. 5. Sister has gone surprisingly quiet since her husband left. Last I heard, she's living with a friend and working on herself. I'm skeptical but hoping for the best, mainly for her kids' sake. Life lessons from all this. Get everything in writing. Love doesn't mean letting people take advantage of you. Sometimes losing a house saves your self-respect. Family isn't just blood, it's the people who respect your boundaries. Thank you, Reddit, for being there through this journey. Signing off for good this time.